here. Do we go till 8 o'clock today, or is it different? Is there a different schedule that started yet? It's 8 o'clock, huh?
6 to 8, yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Hare Krishna. So we will start now. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Privrajakacharyasto Tarasata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Privrajakacharyasto Tarasata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Gangamayi Jamunamayi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Harinam Sankirtana ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Madana Mohan ki jai, ISKCON Silicon Valley Yatra ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyatishitarine. So, Hare Krishna, it's 10 minutes after 6. We just have our first visitors here. Hare Krishna, welcome. So normally we have a class that begins at 6 p.m., but I'm thinking, Hare Krishna, yeah. There are people watching on the internet. So there are some people, but usually there's people here too. I'm thinking maybe we should starting the class later or something, because the Arati starts at 8. So it's a 2-hour class. That's a long time for people to sit and listen. Maybe that's why people are getting off work and they're getting ready to come to the temple. 7 people are online. Hello to every one of you who are online. Today, the title of the lecture today is Seeing the 3 Modes of Material Nature at Work in Our Day-to-Day Lives. And so I thought we would read from chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita, text number 19. Nanyang gunebhya kartaram yada drashtanu pashyati gunebhyascha parang veti madbhavang sodhikacchati. Nanyang gunebhya kartaram yada drashtanu pashyati gunebhyascha parang veti madbhavang sodhikacchati. Nanyang gunebhya kartaram yada drashtanu pashyati gunebhyascha parang veti madbhavang sodhikacchati. Nanyang gunebhya kartarang yada drashtanu pashyati gunebhyascha parang veti madbhavang sodhikacchati. Word meanings. Na, no, anyam, other, gunebhyah, than the qualities, kartaram, performer, yada, when, drashta, a seer, anupashyati, sees properly, gunebhyah, to the modes of nature, cha, and, param, transcendental, veti, knows, mat bhavam, to my spiritual nature, saha, he, adhikachati, is promoted. Translation: when one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. Please repeat, or I shall repeat. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. Purport. Verse number 19, chapter 14, verse number 19. Hare Krishna. So we'll read the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. One can transcend all the activities of the modes of material nature simply by understanding them properly, by learning from the proper souls. The real spiritual master is Krishna, and he is imparting this spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully in Krishna consciousness that one has to learn this science of activities in terms of the modes of nature. Otherwise, one's life will be misdirected. By the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, a living entity can know of his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, how he is entrapped, and how he is under the spell of the material modes of nature. He is helpless, being in the grip of these modes. But when he can see his real position, then he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body, conducted by some particular mode of material nature. Unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated. With the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position, and by such an understanding, he can become fixed in full Krishna consciousness. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. Daivi yesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam evaye prapadyante mayametang turantite. One who surrenders to Krishna. Did they put that up there? I can't see with my... One who surrenders to Krishna, material nature. No, they're putting up a different verse. Yes, they're putting up the verse that we're reading. That's correct. I just saw them change the verse. I thought it was. That's the verse we're reading. Yes, that's correct. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada alluded to a different verse from the 7th chapter, and I saw the verse change up there, so I thought it might be up. Oh, Hare Krishna, welcome. Thanks for joining us. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who is surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. This is in verse number 14 in the 7th chapter. Krishna states that the material nature itself is impossible for the living entity to overcome unless the living entity surrenders to Krishna, and then very easily the living entity can transcend material nature. And then Krishna goes on to describe 4 kinds of pious people who do surrender to Krishna. Before that, he mentions 4 kinds of impious people who do not surrender to Krishna. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities. This book, I just noticed that this purport in this book has the same sentence twice. The same 2 sentences twice. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of the material nature. For one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually ceases. Actually, it's a man in Krishna consciousness. 1, 2, 3 sentences are repeated in the purport. At the end of the purport. You guys don't have your books open, so you don't know what I'm talking about. It's a glitch in the matrix. Anyway, this is one edition of the Bhagavad Gita, current printing in 2004. I'm sure they've corrected it in future printings.
The online also has the same copy?
Let me just put my glasses on. Go to the very end of the purport. No, it doesn't have the problem. It's been fixed online.
Okay.
So see where it says there, a man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of material modes of nature? It actually, in this book, it says that twice. It repeats that from there till the end of the purport. It repeats it after the influence of material nature gradually ceases. Sorry for the interruption of the class. But basically, well, let's chant our Mangalacharana. Om Ajnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Miditang Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitang Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeyaham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabhatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Haribol. So this 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita gets very philosophical. Actually, 13th chapter also. The Srila Prabhupada, if you read closely Bhagavad Gita, you'll note that in a number of purports, Srila Prabhupada describes how the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita are directed mostly to the science of action, and the middle 6 chapters, the glories of Krishna and devotional service, are more fully described. And then beginning in chapter 13, some additional knowledge, jnana, yoga is described. Knowledge of, beginning with chapter 13 is about the field and the knower of the field. That everything that we see around us is the field of activities, and one has to also know that soul is the knower of the body. The body is like the field of activities for the soul, and the supersoul is the knower in all bodies. And that everything moving and non-moving that we see in the world is a combination of this field, which is material energy, and the knower of the field, or the two knowers, who are both spiritual energy, the soul and Krishna. And now in chapter 14, Krishna is starting to describe that material energy, how it works, how it interacts. And he's saying it's made up of 3 modes of nature. And he says in the beginning of the chapter, or early on in the chapter, that this knowledge is more is better than the knowledge he's described so far. Let me read for you. The 3 modes of nature. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of the creation. Pardon me. Or disturbed at the time of dissolution. Again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. Actually, let me read this purport to 1. It's describing again. Srila Prabhupada says, from the 7th chapter to the end of the 12th chapter, that's the middle 6 chapters, Sri Krishna in detail reveals the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead. Now the Lord himself is further enlightening Arjuna. If one understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation, he will come to an understanding of devotional service. In the 13th chapter, it was clearly explained that by humbly developing knowledge, one may possibly be freed from material entanglement. it has also been explained that it is due to the association with the modes of nature that the living entity is entangled in this material world. Now, in this chapter, the Supreme Personality explains what those modes of nature are, how they act. So, in chapter 13, he says, Karanang guna sangosya sadasad yoni janmashu purusha prakritisto hi bhunkte prakritijan gunan. Karanang guna sangosya. So he said that this soul is acting like Purusha in this world and enjoying and suffering the results of what's going on in nature. And he says this due to this association with the different gunas of nature, then he's meeting with good and bad destinies, happiness and distress, or taking birth in good bodies and bad bodies. So now here he's saying, in this chapter, he's explaining what those modes of nature are, how they act, how they bind, and how they give liberation. The knowledge explained in this chapter is proclaimed by the Supreme Lord to be superior to the knowledge given so far in other chapters. By understanding this knowledge, various great sages attained perfection and transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord now explains the same knowledge in a better way. This knowledge is far, far superior to all other processes of knowledge thus far explained, and knowing this, many attained perfection. Thus it is expected that one who understands this 14th chapter will attain perfection. So, this 14th chapter, Krishna elaborates on this philosophy of the three modes of nature and what they are. And actually, he returns to this subject in the 17th and 18th chapter, describing various types of activities and phenomena and in accordance with these three modes. So it's important for us to understand these three modes. I think it's the next one. Back in the 60s, some people had heard the word karma. The word karma was becoming popular. Now it's become a popular word here in the West. But still the gunas, things like concepts like the gunas, the doshas in Ayurvedic medicine and stuff, they're only popular among certain New Age groups, or not very popular yet. But I think that this concept of these three gunas should become more well understood in this culture and propagated throughout our culture, because this is the way we can understand how nature is acting. I mean, there's other ways to understand how nature is acting, right? In physics, people talk about different kinds of forces, gravity and electromagnetic fields, and what causes things to happen when you pass a magnet through a coil. Why does an electric current start? And they have the different theories of why things behave in certain ways. But Krishna is saying actually that if we can see through the eyes of Scripture, see through the eyes of knowledge, if we can see this way how everything is actually going on according to these three gunas, goodness, passion, and ignorance, we can transcend the gunas, we can attain to Krishna's nature, which is also transcendental, and we can be transferred to the spiritual world upon quitting this body and never have to take birth again. We can become liberated from samsara. Right now we're stuck, right? We might imagine ourselves to be free from duties and free from pains and other things, but reality sits in. Sometimes we find ourselves in a bad situation. It's because we're being defeated, we're being controlled by material nature. Srila Prabhupada is explaining that. Sometimes we find ourselves in a situation we don't want to be in, but it happens anyway. This is because we're under the control of material nature. And when one can properly come to the transcendental position, the Brahmabhuta position, one is no longer bound in that way. So we're trying to understand that. And in this chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, how does one transcend the modes of nature? Mang chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. By being engaged completely without stopping in Krishna's devotional service, one is immediately beyond the three modes of nature. And for such a person, he can see the modes of nature acting, but he's not attached to acting in any particular mode. Rather, he is doing his own service on the spiritual platform. So, these three modes of nature are described as goodness, passion, and ignorance. And there's also three phases of any temporary existence. There's creation, maintenance or duration, and destruction, annihilation. Everything that exists in material world has these three phases. This microphone, at one time it didn't exist, and then it was created, all its elements were assembled together, and as it was built in order to work like that. And at some point, we can imagine 10,000 years from now, will this microphone exist in its current form? No, it will be just completely destroyed, rusted, eaten away, oxidized, disappeared somehow. Everything material, and of course this body, right, has a birth, there's an origin, it's born, comes out as a baby, and then it endures for some time, produces byproducts, dwindles, and then it's destroyed. So these three modes of nature are acting in everything. And Krishna is describing how that the nature is made of these three modes, and it acts according to these three modes. Earlier in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, no one can stop acting, even for a minute, right? Even for a moment. Everyone is forced to act. Arjuna said, Krishna had counseled him in the second chapter that you should see things from the spiritual platform and not be so worried about the, interactions, the satisfaction of desires. But you should practice buddhi yoga and become steady and fixed on the spiritual platform, and you should see things in terms of ultimate good rather than temporary arrangements. So Arjuna said in the beginning of the third chapter, then why are you asking me to fight the war? If it's better to be intelligent than to be active, shouldn't I just sit down and meditate or go to the forest and be a sadhu? And Krishna begins to tell him that no, you can't just stop acting. No one can stop because everybody's being forced under the modes of nature. And even if you go sit down in the forest and try to meditate, if your mind is agitated, you won't be able to meditate. And you'll just be pretending to meditate while you're thinking of something else, thinking of sense enjoyment. We can't be inactive, nor can simply by being inactive can we actually stop our sojourn in the realm of karma, of action and reaction. So Krishna is explaining this way. Everyone is being forced to act by the modes of nature. What's that verse? It's chapter 3, verse 5. Karyate hyavashah. Nahi kashchit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krit. Karyate hyavashah karma. Sarvak prakriti jayar gunahi. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Haribol Shalabahu. Good to see you. Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada was saying in the purport that we just read in the first verse of the 14th chapter, that one can understand these chapters through mental speculation. It was actually strange to read that, wasn't it? Because usually Srila Prabhupada doesn't have anything good to say about mental speculation, because devotional service does not require mental gymnastics. It doesn't require us to... devotional service requires us to hear with attention and faith It doesn't require us to cogitate, how should I say, exert our powers of speculation to understand philosophically like that. It's not required, just here. But this is a little more. This chapter is a little more philosophical to try to understand what is meant by these modes of nature, Hare Krishna, and how we're reading the 19th verse of the 14th chapter. How if one can actually see how all activities are being conducted by the modes of nature, and that the soul does nothing. Such a person actually sees. And he knows the Supreme Lord who's transcendental to these modes, then he attains that spiritual nature. We can't really do devotional service to Krishna, honestly, real devotion, genuine devotional service to Krishna, as long as we are not on the spiritual platform. Mad bhaktim labhate param. Real bhakti begins on the Brahma Bhuta platform when we're spiritual. Krishna is the Supreme Spirit. And just like it said, you can't enter fire, you can't enter a fiery planet like the sun unless you have a body made of fire. And similarly, you can't enter a spiritual atmosphere properly enter the spiritual atmosphere unless you have a body made of spirit, unless you've purify yourself and become spiritual. But devotional service is set up so nicely that by associating with devotees, hearing, chanting, discussing Bhagavad Gita, chanting Hare Krishna, seeing the deities, we're becoming in contact with spiritual nature, and it's purifying us to become gradually spiritualized. And one who performs devotional service transcends these three modes of material nature. But they're existing everywhere. So the mode of passion is associated with creation, and Krishna describes it as being characterized by intense longing and trying to enjoy sense gratification, trying to work very hard to achieve some result. And it binds one by work. Let's read these verses. Krishna will explain in Bhagavad Gita that even the foods one eats or enjoys is governed by the modes. And there's three types of happiness according to the modes, and three types of understanding, three types of knowledge, three types of sacrifice, three types of charity. And he gives a very full description of these modes at work in different kinds of human activities and in different kinds of phenomena. So he says here, material nature consists of three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these three modes. The mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of knowledge and happiness. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive activities. The mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The result of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. Mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions one to fruitive action, and ignorance, covering one's knowledge, binds one to madness. So, although goodness and here he says that sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating passion and ignorance. Sometimes passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there's always competition for supremacy. So this is going on in everything we see is a mixture of these, some combination or mixture of these three modes. And of the three, the mode of goodness, they're all ways that the material nature is acting to bind the souls in illusion. But the mode of goodness is more pure. Oh, we even have illustrations. The mode of goodness is purer than the other two, and it acts to illuminate one with knowledge. But the material mode of goodness is still one of the three modes of material nature. It's still one of the ways that material nature engages people in material activity and binds one by happiness and knowledge, by a sense of being better than others, by thinking, now I know how it works, I can enjoy this now. Now I can see how I can become happy by being dutiful and doing what I'm supposed to do, and not becoming distracted by material desires and longings. I can become happy this way. Oh, this is a good place. I'll stay here a while and enjoy it. So that's how it binds. But pure goodness is something different. When goodness is completely free from any tinge of passion and ignorance, then we're talking about something that's not material. That's Vishuddha Sattva, the state of Vasudeva Sattva, or freedom from contact of the modes of nature, where Krishna then appears in that condition. Real devotional service appears in that condition. But we're talking now of the material mode of goodness, which is constantly competing and pervading everything. Does anyone have any questions up to this point? Maybe we can conduct ourselves by reading through the verses in this chapter 14. They're important verses. This is an important way. It's a different way of looking at the world, of how things are behaving. We can see the world is always in flux. Who likes to chant japa on the beach? I think most of us do. I like to go in the morning. I used to live in Santa Cruz County. Actually, I live close to the beach now, but I haven't been going to the beach. I should find out where to go. But to go down before the sunrise and walk along the side of the shore, and then the sun comes up, and you can see how everything is going on according to a schedule. First of all, the waves are coming in. They're constantly moving, coming in, going out, ebbing and flowing. And then the tides are coming over a longer period. The ocean goes higher up on the sand, and then it goes lower. And then the sun is rising, at its scheduled time. The different stars are turning around, and the moon is sinking, and the sun is rising. And as the sun comes out, certain animals become more active. The town becomes active. The mode of passion starts to become more prominent. And, people start waking up and drinking coffee and going to the shops. And the construction workers then come out and start, making noise and stuff. It becomes harder to chant your japa after the sun comes up and everything starts happening. And at night again, the modes are changing at different kinds of days, different times of day. And everything is in the material world, everything is a state of flux. Whereas the holy name is this, we're getting in touch with this transcendental world that it has variety and it has activity of a spiritual kind. It's full of pleasure. It's not something static, but it's not being conducted by these material modes that are making these material things happen. So we can see that modes are. All of us have to go to sleep at some point in the day, and other times we get more of our energy to go out and do things, right? To accomplish things. So activity is not necessarily passionate. One has prescribed duties, and one should perform one's duties. One has things that one has to do. We all have things we have to do in our daily lives. We have to get to work on time. We have to turn in our term paper when it's due, or we have to get the kids fed and off to school, and things are going on. There are things that have to be accomplished. Hare Krishna, welcome. And one has to accomplish one's duties, but in the mode of passion, one wants to enjoy the results of duties, and one becomes fixed on enjoying certain things, and may actually give up one's actual duties to do something else, or because one's duties themselves seem troublesome, difficult. And in the mode of ignorance, one may give up one's duties just out of illusion. This is described in the 18th chapter. In the mode of goodness, one actually works as one is obligated, just as one is supposed to be doing, but understands that they themselves are not the body, and that they're working in accordance out of a sense of duty, or for purification of their existence, but not to enjoy the results of the work. The passionate worker wants to enjoy the results of the work, and the ignorant worker works against the injunctions of scriptures and engages in forbidden things, ridiculous, foolish things. The mode of ignorance, by its nature, they all have all the modes of nature have their uses too. The mode of goodness, we should strive to be always in the mode of goodness because it's purer. But in the mode of ignorance, people can become detached from. They can see the hypocrisy or the foolishness of the passionate fruitive worker who's striving to get something, and they can see, well, that's just temporary. But their response is to give up instead of to work as they're obligated, like the person in the mode of goodness, who works as they're obligated, but and properly and dutifully and purely. They may just prefer to get intoxicated, go back to sleep. So in the 14th chapter, Krishna describes that those who are working in the mode of goodness are elevated, and if they die in the mode of goodness, they take birth in higher planets where sages live, like Tapaloka and Janaloka and Satyaloka, and or at least among the demigods. And fruitive, passionate workers take birth in among the human society. And in the mode of ignorance, one goes gradually downward. One takes birth in the animal kingdom and is dragged towards lower planets and hellish conditions. Excuse me. I need to get a Kleenex. I'm sorry. Oh, thanks. Why don't we read some of these characteristics of the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance? The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. This is text 11, chapter 14, Bhagavad Gita. Text 11. I think why don't we just, thank you very much. I was going to sneeze. I'm sorry to interrupt everything. We're forced. Our bodies force us. We have to breathe. We have to sneeze sometimes or cough. And this is a science. What causes us to do things? What causes desires to arise in our mind? We're being forced by nature. Even material scientists will accept that. I think material scientists, they don't accept that there's an independent soul, but they're looking at causes of things that, somehow or another, this big machine of the body is being forced to eat the next French fry because of some cause. If you could figure out a way to change the modes that your body is acting under, you could stop doing things that are destructive. Why do some people, when we have these situations, at least in the United States, guns are easy to get, and then somebody goes crazy and goes and starts shooting a lot of people that they don't even know in a school, or more recently the Navy Yard. There was a guy in the movie theater in Colorado or somewhere, Aurora, and kids in Columbine and different places. So what causes people to do that? And could we find how to stop people from being misdirected like that, to do something crazy or to do something destructive? And this Krishna consciousness movement can actually do that. If we can get people to chant Hare Krishna, it'll actually purify people and make them act morally in the mode of goodness and less in the mode of ignorance and passion. Someone who does something like that is in the mode of ignorance. It's not, someone in the mode of passion may do something that seems silly to us, like, go out and, conquer a country, for his girlfriend or something like that, and make a big campaign and strive very hard to do something that it doesn't necessarily need to do. Build a big skyscraper, a vast empire, and live in a big palace, make a fortune. But someone in the mode of ignorance can do horrible, destructive things that make no sense at all. It's not. So anyway, let's go on reading this. When there's an increase in the mode of passion, check text 12, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sages. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. The result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of passion results in misery. And action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. So how come action in the mode of passion results in misery if it's the driving force behind people striving to attain great things, build a big skyscraper, live in a palace? Because those things don't really bring happiness. They're material things. And, one may achieve one's, through the mode of passion, one may achieve by exerting oneself a great deal, one may achieve some difficult goal, but the goal itself does not bring one peace and happiness, because the real happiness of the soul is transcendental happiness that comes from our relationship with Krishna, our spiritual relationship with Krishna. That doesn't mean that we can't work very hard for Krishna. We should work very hard for Krishna. Abhyabhicharena means without ceasing. Actually, devotional service should be performed steadily, constantly, 24/7. Even Srila Prabhupada says you should chant Hare Krishna even in your sleep. And we can experience that if we chant Hare Krishna, we get practiced. We may experience that all throughout the night we're thinking about chanting Hare Krishna, the Mahamantra. At least from whenever we remember. From the mode of goodness, text 17, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. And from the mode of ignorance, develop foolishness, madness, and illusion. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. When one properly sees, this is the verse we read today, Hare Krishna. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these three modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. When the conditioned being is able to transcend these three modes of nature associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and disease, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. So Krishna previously said in chapter 4 that his own work and activities and appearance, his birth, are transcendental, divyam, and that one who understands how Krishna's activities are transcendental also doesn't take birth upon quitting this body. Right? Janma karma chame divyam evang yoveti tatvata tyaktva dehang punar janma naiti mameti sorjuna. And he attains Krishna. He goes to Krishna. And here Krishna is explaining more about that, how we can do that by understanding the three modes of nature and how they're acting. Our body is made of material nature. We have senses, working senses, knowledge-acquiring senses, and the elements, fire, water, air, earth, and ether, that are associated with those senses. And our activities are taking place. But there's a spiritual knower in the body, a spiritual spark, the soul, the eternal soul. That's what material science doesn't teach us about. But the material science teaches us, oh yeah, we have a body made of like a bag of chemicals, and it's being forced to move according to material laws of nature. So, material scientists and devotees agree on that. There are material laws of nature that are forcing us to act. But we are also explaining how there's a soul and how it can become liberated from these control of material nature. And one way to become liberated that's being mentioned here is to come to understand these modes of nature and how they're acting, and how all activity is being conducted by these modes. Text 21, Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, by which symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these three modes? What is his behavior, and how does he transcend the modes of nature? So, what are the symptoms of a transcendental person? How do they act? And how do they transcend the modes? And then Krishna responds, O son of Pandu, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear. So illumination, attachment, and delusion are the three sort of characteristics of the modes. Illumination is of the mode of goodness, attachment is the mode of passion, and delusion is the mode of ignorance, the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. But the person who's transcendental does not hate them when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the three modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal toward the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friend and enemy, and who has renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature. So these are some of the symptoms of how one can be recognized as transcendental to the modes of nature and how one behaves. Now Krishna answers how one transcends. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. And then the last verse in the chapter, I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Krishna is saying that even the impersonal Brahman is resting on him. Some philosophers think that Krishna's personality is a manifestation somehow of an impersonal, unmanifested, qualityless absolute truth. But actually Bhagavad Gita teaches that the unmanifested is actually resting on Krishna. That Krishna's own personality is transcendental. It may be hard for those who are accustomed to trying to understand transcendental, that which is beyond time and space, by taking away material qualities. It's not this, it's not that. Trying to subtract away the material qualities. They might find that difficult to understand because they're thinking, well, it doesn't have form, it doesn't have personality, it doesn't have color and different kinds of material qualities. But Krishna has qualities, but they're not these material qualities, they're not temporary qualities. In fact, the word guna that we're talking about, the three gunas, guna means qualities. And sometimes people say that Krishna is nirguna, without qualities. But this means he's without these three material qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. He exists on the platform of complete freedom from these three gunas, or rather, a completely pure goodness without any material passion or ignorance, which is eternal, beyond time and beyond space. So that's chapter 14, the verses in chapter 14. And then in chapter 17, Arjuna asks, what about people who don't follow the rules of the scriptures? Because in chapter 16, Krishna described that the characteristics of divine people and the characteristics of demonic people. And one of the characteristics of the divine people is that they're willing to follow the rules of the scriptures, the injunctions, what one is supposed to do, what one is not supposed to do. And those who are demoniac don't care for those regulations. And they say, I don't have any authority over me, I'll do what I feel like. And, I will achieve my happiness by exploiting others if I want to. Nobody can stop me. That's the nature of demons. So Arjuna then asks in chapter 17, well, what about people who don't follow the principles of the scriptures but still worship according to their own imagination? And are they in goodness, passion, or ignorance? And of course they're not in goodness. But Krishna starts describing again how everyone has one's existence under the modes of nature. That we're the kind of body we have, the kind of personality we have, and everything we are that we think of in terms of our material body. Of course, we're really the transcendental spirit soul. But what we think of as ourself under the influence of false ego is a combination of these three modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, in different quantities, different mixtures. Just like there's three primary colors and they can make all the colors that we see out of mixing these three primary colors, red, blue, yellow, right? And similarly, by mixing goodness, passion, and ignorance, we come all the different species of life. There's 8,400,000 species of life. They're all in different mixtures. 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 9 is 81, like that. There can be so many different species made of these different mixtures. Does anybody have any questions or comments at this point? I know this is a philosophical subject, and so it's a little harder to think about and discuss and than to talk about Krishna's pastimes or something like that. But it's rewarding to actually approach this philosophy of how these three modes are acting. And in all our activities, we can see these three modes. So like I said before, we have obligations. We have to get certain things done. We have to get them done on time. We have to get them done correct. So to act in the mode of goodness, one does not shirk one's responsibilities. One does what's required of one according to one's prescribed duties and gets them accomplished. But one does so without longing for the result one actually does what one is really supposed to do instead of doing something else. Someone in the mode of passion may get some idea that instead of, taking care of their relatives or something like that, they have some other, they want to do something else to become, in order to become a, rich and famous or something like that. They get some ideas that they have to make sacrifices and sacrifice even their own actual duties to perform some other activities. And in the mode of goodness, in the mode of ignorance, one does exactly the opposite of what one is supposed to do. So Krishna starts describing in chapter 7. Yes, go ahead. Need to get a microphone. Excuse me. Is it turned on? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Oh yeah, that started.
Okay. Good, yeah, we should get a more lively discussion. It's going to be boring if I just drone on.
So, probably the question is that most of the time when we illustrate the modes, we describe about the activities. For example, mode of passion is like very agitative. Mode of ignorance is like lazy and sleepy, and mode of goodness is like you pray, you have some, you serve, you try to serve. Or
Mode
something.
of goodness can also be quite active, actually,
Okay.
Believe it or not. But the Hare Krishna.
So my question is that I think it is more in the consciousness than the activity itself, right? For example, one can be still, as you said, very active and passionate, but he can be spiritual also. And so
It's in both. It's both. It's in the consciousness, and the modes of nature manifest in the consciousness, and they also manifest in substances of material things. Just like things are being created and being destroyed. They're always acting. And so certain activities are being against scriptural injunctions and so forth.
At the same time, like we get the example, for example, we can use this microphone for spiritual purpose. So
Yes.
even though it is exhibiting the material quality or material modes, we have converted that into the spiritual. So
Yes, so we can use material things in Krishna's service. Even though material things are made of goodness, passion, and ignorance, if we employ them in the service of Krishna, we can spiritualize them. Just like, and one should not mistake material goodness for spiritual. So we can take flowers and offer it to the deities, and then it becomes prasadam. Because anything that's offered with love, with bhakti, Krishna accepts. He says in the 9th chapter. So then, even though it maybe appears to someone like an ordinary flower, but it's actually it has transcendental qualities. When someone smells that flower, they come in contact with transcendental nature. That's how Krishna consciousness works. They take some prasadam unknowingly, thinking that it's just some delicious food, but because it's been prepared with devotion and it's been offered with devotion and accepted by Krishna, if people, excuse me. Sorry, that's been coming on for a long time. If people taste that food, they come in contact with the transcendental energy, and then their hearts can be changed and they can become devotees. So Lord Chaitanya created this Sankirtan movement because in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that you can't even explain Bhagavad Gita to someone, Hare Krishna, welcome, if they're not devoted, they're not austere, they're not engaged in devotional service. If they don't have these qualities, then they can't really understand Bhagavad Gita. But who, in this age, who has those qualities? So Lord Chaitanya has devised this very nice movement of singing, dancing, taking prasadam, and it seems very attractive. Who will resist it? But we'll inject these very nice qualities so then we can sit down and hear Bhagavad Gita. We're not singing any ordinary song, we're singing Krishna's names, and they're very powerful, and they change our hearts. And then we can understand Bhagavad Gita.
So another question is, two persons sit in the temple in front of deities. One can be in mode of goodness, one can be transcendental, right? Like even though the activity seems similar, very similar.
Yeah, so a fruitive worker may be working very hard and thinking that by this hard work, I'm going to put money in my bank balance and then I'm going to be able to buy that car that I really want, and he really wants that car. And then when he finally gets the car, or something happens to the car, it gets smashed or it doesn't work right, and he becomes miserable. But another person may be working also very hard and then taking the money and offering it to help print Bhagavad Gitas and distribute them into the motel rooms of the United States or some other transcendental activity. And it looks like they're doing the same thing. They're both working in a factory, let's say, or in an office. But the consciousness is different, that's correct. And there's four things, really. We're talking about ignorance, passion, goodness, and then also transcendental activity. Even a transcendental actor you might think that, a pure devotee is transcendental, so he won't have a job in a factory. He'll only be living in the temple, chanting all the time, doing services directly for the deities and so forth. But a devotee can actually be a pure devotee working in a factory or on a farm or somewhere. So, but when we talk about goodness, we shouldn't understand that we're talking about transcendental. We're talking about material modes. And there's mixtures. So it's not, like they say that the typical type of mode of goodness type is typified by the Brahmana, pure actor. He's knowledgeable, he studies the scriptures, he knows how to perform the duties correctly. So that's the type. And then the mode of passion is typified by the kshatriya. That he's courageous in battle and he protects people, even he's willing to sacrifice his own life to, and tolerate any kind of distress in order to, achieve victory in battle or whatever he's doing. Then the Shudras are more considered more like, I'm not talking about by birth, obviously. You should all know that. We're not talking about caste by what family you're born in, but we're talking about the actual qualities and the kinds of work that go with those qualities. Krishna says, Chatur Varnyang Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha, that these four varnas are based on the gunas. So again, here's this word guna. So sometimes Srila Prabhupada would say, there's lazy intelligent and active intelligent, and then there's lazy foolish and active foolish. So I think what he was saying is that someone who was actually knowledgeable may not have to be very active, or that his activity may be more in teaching and philosophy, and more Brahminical type, whereas another person may be intelligent but very active and able to administer society properly and be a kshatriya type or do that type of work. And then someone else may be very active for making money, but they're motivated by less noble ideals. So that's more of a Vaishya type, someone who can maintain a farm or an enterprise to produce wealth. And then other people are not capable of being an entrepreneur like that, and they have to be engaged in service and doing what. So these are different types of work associated with different modes of nature. That these are, and we're not talking about any kind of caste system, really, like in terms of birthright, but we're talking about that in any society, wherever you go, you'll find that some people, you just drop them down somewhere, and they'll end up owning a business within several years. And other people will just be working for a salary and not able to pay their bills at the end of the month, but that's their existence. It's because of the modes of nature that they're operating under. So So
normally when we say this person is so-and-so person is like this, sometimes we categorize, oh, his nature is like this. So mostly we refer to the material nature, right? Not the, his...
we have natures. We're attracted to different kinds of food. We're attracted to different kinds of music. We're attracted to different kinds of... we work in different ways. We have different kinds of happiness and so forth. And all that is because we've acquired different modes by associating the soul. By the soul's nature, if we could see what the soul was like, it would be very wonderful. The soul has these qualities, these wonderful qualities. In fact, in the end of chapter 12, and also in the beginning of chapter 16, Krishna is describing the qualities of devotees, how they're kind to everyone, they're tolerant, they're equipoised in happiness and distress, or honor and dishonor. They have all these wonderful qualities. They never put anyone into disturbance. They're compassionate. They're obedient to the spiritual master. They're devoted to God. And they have such beautiful qualities that shine forth. And they don't have these other qualities. There are 26 qualities of pure devotees listed in the Nectar of Devotion. They're expert. We shouldn't think that a devotee because someone is a devotee, that means they'll be lazy and slow and stuff like that. On the contrary, they'll be very alert. And it's the life of a devotee in a temple worshiping the deity. Just like if you have children, you have to get the children fed on time. You have to put them in the bed on time. When you're worshiping the deities, everything has to be done on time. You have to cook the offering. It has to be placed on the plate and made to look nice and offered on time, and the arati has to go on, and it's a life of activity. But it's activity, regulated activity, in service, and not in material greed or material sense enjoyment or material egoism. So, any more discussion of the modes? Yes. Yes, please. Comments?
Online, so would appreciate that.
This is actually more a comment. It's not so much a question. I know one of the things we were discussing was about, for example, the shooting that happened or whatever. Mm-hmm. And just based on my field that I am, I'm sure some of it is delusion, but I feel like a lot of it is probably their mental illness. That's probably one of the reasons why it happened.
And mental illness is what mode is associated with mental illness?
It sounds, according to the three that you talked about, more the delusion part of it.
Yeah, the ignorance. It also says madness.
Mm-hmm.
Madness is the mode of ignorance, yeah. So, a person in the mode of passion may also get involved in a war and fight for something, but it wouldn't be such a senseless kind of, it would be to overcome the enemy, they're capable, people in the mode of passion are capable of doing great, putting together great campaigns, doing brilliant things. All art and music and literature is, by the way, the three guna avatars, Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, are also associated with these modes. Lord Shiva is the Lord of the mode of ignorance. He's in command of that mode. He represents that mode. And Lord Brahma is the Lord of the mode of passion. So he creates the universe. Shiva destroys the universe. And the whole universe is material nature, which is endowed with ignorance or imbued with ignorance. So Shiva's the husband of the material nature personified, Devi. And Vishnu is associated with maintenance, duration, keeping things healthy. So let me read from the 17th chapter. Yeah, these things, so you're in the mental health field, so a good understanding of Bhagavad Gita and of understanding the modes of nature and how they work could give insights to modern psychologists to also learn about how, because not only are material things operating under the modes, or actually mental things are also material things, I should say that. All material things are operating under the modes, yes, only material things are. But what in our modern way of thinking of where we make the kind of mind-body split, mental things are also material and they're also being operated under the modes. And then intellectual things too, determination, understanding, and those things are also described in Bhagavad Gita in terms of the modes. And this could be, in your field, if someone could properly understand it and explain it, could actually be lead to advances in the field of psychology. But we have to translate. There's a cultural difference that has to be translated. People are very, set on seeing things in a particular way according to modern Western science and civilization, and Bhagavad Gita has its sort of a different kind of approach. But it's perfect because it's being explained by God, and it's not, that even that one has to overcome, because materialistic, skeptical modern person would think, oh yeah, it's the theory is that it was by God, but really some author made it all up at some time in human history, after, people were once only cavemen and then they became, now we're much more advanced in knowledge than people ever were. But that view of history and that view of the universe also is not shared in Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, we understand there's planets where we just read, those who are in the mode of goodness, when they die in the mode of goodness, they go to the planets where the sages dwell. So they are much more knowledgeable, they have much more understanding of how the world and everything works. And they're living in these other planets, for aeons of time that we can't even imagine. So it's not like human history only started 40 or 50,000 years ago or whatever, and then, writing started, 6,000 years ago, or, but one who becomes a master of this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita could actually provide insights and help people understanding human behavior and human happiness. In the 18th chapter, Krishna talks about happiness under the modes of nature. So let's go to chapter 17. And Krishna says, beginning on text 7, even the food each person prefers is of three kinds according to the three modes of nature. The same is true of sacrifice, austerity, and charity. Now here are the distinctions between them. Foods dear to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. So goodness is maintenance, and it increases the duration of life, and it's purifying and pleasing to the heart. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to those in the modes of passion, and those foods cause distress, misery, and disease. So there's a theme here that goodness causes happiness, passion causes distress, and ignorance causes madness, and foolishness, and intoxication, and bewilderment. Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten, food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid, and food consisting of remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness. This is actually true. There are cuisines or styles where people like to eat rotten things. It's very fermented and smelly things and stuff like that. Of sacrifices, like cheese. Think about blue cheese and it's a taste that people acquire. They just have strong things that have been allowed to mold and stuff. Of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to the directions of Scripture as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward is in the nature of goodness. So all people, civilized people, should perform some sacrifices and offer something to higher beings, those above us, or to God. But it should be done according to the regulations of Scripture and not desiring some reward. How many people have thought, I'll be good and then God will give me something? I know I have. This is a natural way to think is that, well, if you believe in God and He can control everything, then when you need help, you want to go to God and you say, I'll be good, I'll do this, I promise. And if I just do it this way, we try to fake it, if I just do it this way, then I'll get what I want, and so forth. So there's the fruitive mentality, Hare Krishna. And it's not the mentality of the pure devotee. The pure devotee thinks, because he loves God, he wants to do what God wants. He wants to please God with his activities. But because we're materially conditioned people, we think like that. I'll get some reward. In fact, in many religions, that's how they pray. It's typical of a prayer that, oh God, you're so great, and you have these wonderful qualities, and I have this need. Please give me what I want. Right? That's the transaction. I go, and that's typical. Fruitive religious activities are like that. I'm going to do some performance, some religious performance. I'm going to make some sacrifice, and as a result, I'll get rewarded. But in the mode of goodness, one doesn't think of the reward. One thinks, this is my duty. This is how I'm supposed to behave. This will purify my existence, and I'm doing it just because it ought to be done, not because I'm going to get some result out of it. Shalabahu, you had a comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Beyond this three mode of beyond the three modes, one who come to the devotion service with the prescribed duties and other things. Would you mind to explain a little more about the transcendental nature, how that will be? What is the transcendental qualities and the nature, the symptoms for that activity?
So you're asking not about the three modes, but about those who have transcended them. Like Krishna was saying at the end of chapter 14, that one can transcend the modes by being engaged, steadily without stopping in devotional service. Avyabhicharena, by not stopping, but constant engagement in devotional service. And he explained the symptoms that one does not hanker for illumination or attachment or bewilderment when they're present, and he does not despise them. He is not disturbed by them when they're present, and he doesn't hanker for them when they disappear. And he's steady in both happiness and distress. He sees stone and pebbles and gold as the same. And so these are the qualities of one who's transcendental. Those qualities are that they're very fixed. They're constantly remembering Krishna. They're fixed in the mode of pure goodness, so they're always in knowledge. And they don't lament. You don't see them say, oh, why did it happen this way? I wish it happened somewhere else. Why me? Why? They're free from that. They're not, oh, if I could only get this, then I'd be happy. I can't. They're always happy, already satisfied. They may be struggling to do something, to accomplish something for their service to their guru. Maybe to build a temple somewhere, or publish some books, or distribute some books.
But that's my question. If they are beyond this conception of these three gunas, then there is no struggle in there then, right? If they are giving up the fruitive activity, what are the benefits they are doing? You given the order for me and I am doing part of my duty, then there is no struggle. Am I right?
No struggling?
Yeah.
Well, They may struggle in service. For example, Hanuman may, actually struggle very hard to go to Lanka and, set fire to the town or something like that, because out of love. But he's motivated. But these are transcendental. Transcendental devotees are motivated strictly out of love, and they're motivated not by the three gunas, but by the spiritual internal energy. There's Radharani. Lakshmi is the internal energy, just like Devi is the external energy, and she has three gunas, just like she has a trident. Some people say it's three miseries. Miseries caused by one's own body and mind, miseries caused by others, miseries caused by nature. But it's also three gunas. That's the symbol of the trident. It's there. So the internal energy motivates people out of love, and the external energy motivates people out of the necessity of the gunas that are forcing you to do these things. So a devotee can work very hard to do something. Arjuna was fighting the battle of Kurukshetra. He was struggling very hard in the battle of Kurukshetra, but he was transcendental because he was doing it because Krishna had told him to do it. So sometimes Srila Prabhupada would say that people have this idea that you shouldn't get angry. If you're a spiritual person, you shouldn't get angry. So Arjuna was shooting arrows, but he was just very peaceful and stuff. And Prabhupada said, no. You have to get angry to shoot arrows, to fight a war. But his anger itself was not this material anger. When, people become angry when their desires are thwarted, and then they, his anger was all directed to service of Krishna. Hare Krishna, welcome. Please come in. Yes. It's a difficult subject, the three modes, huh? Yes.
So my question was related to what Shalabhavu Prabhu asked just now. So when you say a transcendentalist also displays emotions, he displays sometimes anger, sometimes love, and maybe sometimes hatred also. Are these emotions then the foundation is the scriptures, like in the sense that the anger we demonstrate normally in our world is irrational anger, basically. I mean, doesn't have good foundation. So their anger has good foundation. Is that what you mean?
It doesn't have any influence of the modes of nature. It's actually called bhava. The emotions of the pure devotees are spiritual ecstasies. And they're described by the authorities on love of Krishna. They're described in terms of rasas. Just like if you studied classical dance, Indian classical dance or drama, there's different rasas that are described, different emotion or different flavors, tastes, right? So those who are actually authorities on the way activities go on in the transcendental spiritual world, which are all loving relationships between Krishna and his devotees, on the basis of spirit, on the platform of pure consciousness, without any material fire, water, air, and earth, without any gunas, goodness, passion, and ignorance, completely beyond that. Those activities are all delineated in terms of rasas, and the connoisseurs who understand these feelings, they can explain the different descriptions of the different leelas that are described in the Puranas and Itihasas, Ramayana and Srimad Bhagavatam, in terms of these different rasas that become prominent in their devotional service and the different bhavas or ecstasies that are being experienced. So such devotees are not being moved by material anger, which arises out of the mode of passion. Arjuna says, why do people who try to be pure and to avoid wrong action, why are they sometimes found to engage in sin in the end of the 3rd chapter, even though they're trying to avoid doing something, but they can't avoid it. You're on a diet and you're only supposed to eat a certain amount every day, and you finish the amount you're supposed to eat, but you just say, I just got to eat something else. Why? You're not able to regulate yourself in accordance with what you know is your proper activity. And Krishna says it's because of kama, lust, material desire to enjoy matter, and krodha. And he says rajaguna samudbhavaha, which arises from this material mode of passion. That's the that lust is transformed into anger, and it comes out of the passionate mode of material nature. So that one who's more under the influence of the material mode of goodness is less likely to be out of control, is more able to act according to his plan, according to the appropriate, is able to control his senses and perform the duties properly in the proper time and place and proper way, and then can become a yogi, can actually control the mind and senses and be peaceful. When you can control the senses and then you can control the mind, then you can be peaceful and you can start to understand spiritual life. So the mode of goodness is better than the mode of passion and ignorance, because in the mode of goodness one can actually begin to understand spirit, the difference between spirit and matter. In the mode of passion one becomes two. This is explained in the 18th chapter also more, how when he... Let me go, I'll finish reading this chapter 17 and I'll read you some of chapter 18 too, so that we can get through all the description Krishna has of the modes. The gunas. But the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, O chief of the Bharatas, you should know to be in the mode of passion. Someone may, everyone will say, what a pious person he is. He's performed that big sacrifice. Any sacrifice performed without regard for the directions of scriptures, without distribution of prasadam. This is on page 692 in your book. It's text 13 of chapter 17. Without chanting of Vedic hymns and remuneration to the priests, and without faith, is considered to be in the mode of ignorance. Austerity of the body consists in the worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. So now we're going to talk about 3 kinds of austerity: of the body, of the mind, and of speech. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. This threefold austerity, performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme, is called austerity in goodness. So now we're talking about austerity under the 3 modes. And we're talking about 3 kinds of austerity: body, mind, and speech. In goodness it's performed with transcendental faith, without expectation of reward, but for the sake of the Supreme. Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. Penance performed out of foolishness with self-torture or to destroy or injure others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Sometimes people practice kind of black magic or these witchcraft arts where you cut yourself to cause harm to someone else or do some,
Also they do bali.
What did they do?
The bali, what they call, sacrifice goats and animals
Yes.
in front of goddess Kali. So that.
Yes. Charity, given out of duty, without expectation of return, at the proper time and place, and to a worthy person, is considered to be in the mode of goodness. But charity performed with the expectation of some return, or with a desire for fruitive results, in a grudging mood, is said to be charity in the mode of passion. and charity performed at an impure place at an improper time to unworthy persons or without proper attention and respect is said to be in the mode of ignorance. From the beginning of creation, okay, so this does, I'll stop there for chapter 17 because I really want to focus in the descriptions of the modes of nature. Krishna says that prescribed duties should never be renounced. This is chapter 18, verse 7. If one gives up his prescribed duties means duties that you're given by higher authorities, actually by spiritual authorities. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the elevation of renunciation. One doesn't get the result of real renunciation by renouncing one's actual prescribed duties. O Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done and renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness. The intelligent renouncer, situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful of inauspicious work nor attached to auspicious work, has no doubts about work. So one should do one's duty without attachment, knowing oneself to be the spirit soul, not the actor, and that's in the mode of goodness. It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who is truly renounced. Now I'll move on to text 18. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the three factors that motivate the action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the three constituents of action. According to three different modes of nature, there are three kinds of knowledge: action and performer. Now hear of them from me. That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. That knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion. And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all-in-all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. That action, which is regulated, which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results, is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion. That action performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Now we're going to talk about workers. One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness. So a worker in the mode of goodness can have great unbreakable determination. It's not that a worker in the mode of goodness is, it doesn't matter, it's all good. That's the mode of ignorance, when people are, how should I say, like negligent, not determined, not careful. You know, it's not that in the mode of, some people have this idea that, saintly people just go with the flow, whatever happens. But actually in the mode of goodness, no, one has one's duties to perform and one does them with attention, but one is not attached to the results. The worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be in the mode of passion. Just what I said just then, it doesn't mean that the people in the mode of goodness are intolerant or incapable of going with the flow. I didn't mean that either. They see that they're trying to do something and they're not able to accomplish it. They're by nature they're peaceful and they're tolerant, and they sometimes can understand it that this activity may not be what God wants me to do, but they're not negligent and careless in their behavior. They're attentive. The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the Scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always morose, and procrastinating, is said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance. O winner of wealth, now please listen as I tell you in detail of the different kinds of understanding and determination according to the three modes of nature. O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness. O son of Pritha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion, under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. O son of Pritha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness. But that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion, O Arjuna. And that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of darkness. O best of the Bharatas, now hear from me about three kinds of happiness by which the conditioned soul enjoys, and by which he sometimes comes to the end of all distress. That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. That happiness which is derived from contact with the senses with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion. It doesn't remain happiness for long, right? And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and delusion, is said to be in the nature of ignorance. That's not real happiness, even from the beginning. There is no being existing, either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary systems, which is freed from these modes born of material nature. So Krishna is saying even the demigods are under the influence of this material nature. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes. And then he describes the qualities by which each of the Varnas works. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the material qualities by which the Brahmanas work. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas, and for the Shudras there are labor and service to others. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings, and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. So, we've read a lot tonight discussing the different qualities of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And we can get a sense of them just like one can sense the primary colors, how they're behaving. And as Krishna said in the beginning of the 14th chapter, sometimes passion becomes prominent and defeats goodness and ignorance. Sometimes goodness becomes prominent and defeats passion and ignorance. Sometimes ignorance becomes prominent and defeats the other two. In this way, they're always struggling. These modes are always struggling for supremacy. And in material nature, there's always change going on. It's constantly changing, one after another. So this is the way material nature is going. Nothing is permanent. Yes?
A question with respect to the last sentence where it duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. So let's say my mode of nature is ignorance, and if I continue to work in ignorance, will it not cause sinful reaction?
If your modes that you're born in are more in ignorance, then your duties will be those of Shudras, to do labor and service to others. And if you do those duties and don't try to, Hare Krishna, and don't try to do the duties of a Brahmana or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya, this is the Vedic system of Varnashram Dharma. It's practically non-existent in the world today, but this is the system that Krishna created, that in previous ages, when things are properly in order in human civilization, one can become purified and become perfect by performing one's own work that is just suited to the nature that one is born with. Your astrologers could tell you, they could look at your chart and tell you what kind of nature you have and what kind of work. Just like nowadays, all the kids go to high school and college and they have career guidance counselors and they change their majors and they try to figure out what they would like to do and stuff. Sooner or later, you end up doing something. And maybe people change. Nowadays, the people are going into different careers in their 40s and 50s and changing and stuff. But civilization could be more scientifically set up if people could know what their natures and qualities are early on, and then be trained to perform some beneficial work in accordance with that nature. And I know that it may sound scary to some modern liberal people that, it sounds like, a system of you don't get to do what you want. You get you're put into some kind, like in the animal kingdom, you may find that there's different kinds of bees, and some of them are drones, and some of them are workers, and some of them are queens, and stuff like that. But it's a little scary when people start thinking in human society like that, because we're so used to privileged groups exploiting and mistreating those with less power, because that's the atmosphere of the Kali Yuga that we're living in. So, but human civilization is designed, for all time, and human psychology really works that way. That there naturally are different kinds of workers, and some people are naturally leaders and heroes, and some people are naturally teachers and philosophers and intellectuals and priests, and some people are naturally entrepreneurs and organizers of farms and other kinds of enterprises, and they have a duty to protect. It's not, when people hear about it now, they think in terms of like Marxian class struggle, and the classes have these irreconcilable conflicts with one another, and they're struggling for supremacy. But to understand Varnashram Dharma properly, you should understand that the classes are all helping one another, like the different parts of the body all cooperate to fulfill the needs of the whole person, so that there really are different kinds of duties and activities that have to be done. And just like in a body there's a head and an arm, there's different organs. It's not like you try to eat with the hands, you feed the mouth. And similarly, there are these different varnas. So Krishna's teaching Arjuna. Remember, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna wanted to act in saintliness. He was making arguments that why should we engage in warfare? But Arjuna is made for warfare. He's the greatest archer in the world and the greatest soldier on the battlefield. Maybe Karna was almost his equal, and he needed. But Krishna. But at the beginning he was thinking, "What's right for me to do? I don't know. How will it affect me? How will it affect society? And Krishna told him, "You're thinking about all the wrong things. You should know who I am. I'm Krishna. I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you should just do what I want, and you should surrender to me and take shelter of me completely." And then Arjuna said, "Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Now my illusion is gone, and I'm just going to do what you tell me to do. I'm going to act out of. I won't be thinking in terms of these material considerations anymore. I'll just be thinking of pleasing you." So Arjuna wanted to act more like a Brahmana, but Krishna's telling him, "No, you can't act like a Brahmana. You're not a Brahmana. Don't try to act like a Brahmana. I have different kinds of work that I want done in the world by different people, and you're meant for doing this warfare, and I want you to do that for me. But I want Yudhishthira Maharaj to be king. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam dharma sangstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna says, I come to the world to protect the devotees, to destroy the impious people, and to reestablish the principles of religion. So in doing that, he had some killing he wanted done. And he said, Arjuna, Nimitta matra bhava savyasachi. Become my instrument. I'm going to kill these people. Sometimes people are shocked because, it's not like this philosophy is in favor of warfare and killing. Everybody likes peace and justice and kindness and stuff. But sometimes in history, there is warfare, and you want the good guys to win. You want those who are on the side of righteousness to win. And in this case, the Pandavas were the side of righteousness. And Krishna was telling Arjuna that he was supposed to do his duty, even though his duty was to kill people in battle. All right? Sometimes people react to that. Is there any comments or reactions to that? Yes.
So, one important thing, right? Okay, let us say I'm born in a very low-class family and I don't have much opportunities. If I believe in afterlife, if I believe in God who is determining what's going to be my afterlife, who is fair and all-merciful, then I will do what I'm supposed to do and expect that I will get what I'm desiring in the next life.
Also, you should be given opportunity. Even if you're born in an undistinguished family, but if you have qualities, then you should be given an opportunity.
Yeah, I'm talking about more like in a given situation.
Yes.
There are very high chances. There are very low chances that he will have qualities to perform in other situations.
Yeah.
Because that is also again determined by God, because you are of this quality and that's why I gave you birth there. That doesn't mean that he's restricting it. There were exceptions.
Yeah.
In the past there were exceptions. Now in the current society, because we don't have faith in God, because we don't have faith in afterlife, and what is meant in Bhagavad Gita as all are equal is actually all spirit souls are equal, not all bodies are equal.
Right.
But in today's world, we kind of meant it like all bodies are equal. And that's causing so much of strife and so much of struggle, and everyone going to compete and resulting in frustration sometimes because everyone doesn't get to be president of the United States, right? So
it's a big subject. I think it's time for the artists to start, but it's a big subject because, we're so much used to the powerful people exploiting the weak people. But that's not the system that Krishna is describing. The just system is, there's this sense, there's a French word, noblesse oblige, that nobility obliges, that those who actually are in, just like a parent is much stronger than a child. You have a newborn baby, the parent could kill the baby or take advantage of the baby or take all the baby's money or whatever, if the baby inherited something. But, we all know that, the parent has a duty to care for the child and protect the child and make sure that the child gets what they're supposed to do. And similarly, those who are privileged in society have a duty to make sure everything runs nicely according to God's plan, because everything belongs to God, and it's all, this whole world is God's creation, and some people are put in a position of responsibility to care for it. So it's a big subject, and it's discussed in Srila Prabhupada's books a lot, but we have to stop now. So we'll have the Arati ceremony. Hare Krishna.
Big books go there. So you are staying there? No, you can sing. You're leaving? Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Kiba Jayo Jayo Gora Chande Arati Koshoba Kiba Jayo Jayo Gora Chande Arati Koshoba Janavi Tatavane Jagamana Loba Janavi Tatavane Jagamana Loba Dakine Nitai Chan Bame Gadadara Kibadaki Nenidachan Bame Gadadara Nikate Advaita Shrini Vasachhatradhara Nikate Advaita Shrini Vasachhatradhara Boshi Ache Gorachan Ratna Simhasane Giba Boshi Ache Gorachan Ratna Simhasane Arati Koreno Brahma आदिदेव गाने आरती करे न ब्रह्मा आदिदेव गाने नर हरि आदि कोरी चामार दुल्हाया शिव नर आदि कोरी चामार दुल्हाया संजय मुकुंद बाशु गोशादि गाया संजय मुकुंद बाशु गोशादि गाया शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला की शंका बाजे का बाजे बाजे करताला मधुर मृदंग बाजे परम रसाला मधुर मृदंग बाजे परम रसाला बहु कोटि चंद्र जीनी वदन उज्ज्वला की बहु कोटि जीनी वदन उज्ज्वला गलदे वनमाला कोरे जलमाला गलदे वनमाला कोरे जलमाला शिवा शुक नारद प्रेमे गद गदा किव शिवा शुक नारद प्रेमे गद गदा भक्ति विनोदा देके गौरर संपादा भक्ति विनोदा देके गौरर संपादा जय जय गौरा चांदे आरती को शोभा की बजय जय चांदे आरती को शोभा जानवी तत्वने जगमान लोभा जानवी तत्वने जगमान लोभा गौरांगेरा रति को शोभा जग जनमान लोभा गौरांगेरा रति को शोभा जग जनमान लोभा गौरांगेरा रति को शोभा जग जनमान लोभा गौरांगेरा जग जनमान लोभा शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Ram Ram, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Ram Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Mahaprabhu 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 Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jaya Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha 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 Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Stotra Shata His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Stotra Shata His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopina Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai Ayodhya Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Kshetra Ki Jai Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Samaved Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai All girls to assembled devotees Hare Krishna All girls to assembled devotees Hare Krishna All girls to assembled devotees Hare Krishna All girls to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga All girls to Srila Prabhupada Nithai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo
Namaste हिरण्याकाशे पूर्वक्षः हिरण्याकाशे पूर्वक्षः शिलटङ्कानखालाय शिलटङ्कानखालाय इतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहो इतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहो यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहा यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहा बहिर्नरसिंहो हृदये नरसिंहो बहिर्नरसिंहो हृदये नरसिंहो नरसिंहमदीं शरणं प्रपदे नरसिंहमदीं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलवरे नाखाम् अद्भुत शृङ्गाम् दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गाम् केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव करकमलवरे नाखाम् अद्भुत शृङ्गाम् दलिता केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Jayo Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jayo Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jayo Mahaprabhu Jayo Mahaprabhu Jayo Mahaprabhu Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha Jayo Bhakta Prahlad Bolo Jayo Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Jayo Gurudev Jayo Jayo Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol बोलो श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन जी की बोलो महाप्रभु जी की देव की बोलो प्रहलाद महाराज की बोलो प्रभुपाद जी की all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees Hare 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 Bol
Hare Krishna, we welcome you all to this Wednesday night Bhagavad Gita class, and we are very thankful to His Grace Akruranatha Prabhu for giving today's lecture on overcoming the three modes of material nature. So let us loudly chant and Hari Bol for him. Hari Bol! So the events for this week is this Saturday on the morning at 10:30. We will have the kids speech recitation and creative writing contest. So if you want to basically see how the kids perform, basically this is run by the Vedic Academy of ISV, and if you want to see how the kids are doing and what we are teaching them, etc., this is a good opportunity for all of you to be here and get get to know about it. And then on Friday we have the Kartik month, Damodar month that is starting. And Damodar month is very auspicious. It is the month where many people do a lot of austerities. And it is said that whatever austerities you do in this month of Kartik, you get the result of doing it 1,000 times. So you can do so every day we will have Damodar Ashtakam prayers at the temple. And on Friday we have a special program, a special guest. His Grace Amal Bhakta Das is coming here to give a lecture from 6 p.m. From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. there will be a class. And at 8 p.m. we will have Damodar Arti. So please come on Friday. It's the first day of Kartik and I don't want that anybody of you miss it. So please come to the temple on Friday evening. And we'll now have Prasadam prayers. And then after that we can have Prasadam. I request everybody to sit on this side of the room while honoring Prasadam so that we have to clean only a little bit of space. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Sharira vidyajal jodendriya tahe kal jiva phale vishaya sagare তার মধ্যে জীবয় হতি লোভময় সুদুর্মতি তাকে যেতা কঠিন সংসারে কৃষ্ণ বড় দয়াময় করিবারে জীব স্বপ্রসাদন দিল ভাই शयानामृत पावो राधा कृष्ण गुण गावो प्रेमे दाको श्री चैतन्य निताय प्रेमे दाको श्री चैतन्य निताय माँ प्रसादे गोविंदे नमो ब्राह्मणे वैष्णवे स्वल्प पुण्यवृतं राजन् विश्वासो नैवजायते प्रसादे सर्व दुःखानां हानिरस्योपजायते प्रसन्नचेतसो असु बुद्धिपर्यवतिष्ठस्ते भगवत श्री महाप्रसादम की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. Please come and take prasadam. The prasadam will be served outside there. So please form a line and then you can take the prasadam and come back here. Hare Krishna.
For those who have joined us online, that ends our broadcasting for today. Thank you very much for joining us. Hare Krishna.